3, 2, 1. Roll the footage. The hardest part of running a business is finding the right people, and when you have found them, keeping them, and when you keep them, having a good time together, create impact, freedom, wealth for your people, for yourself. And we all know how tough that is. That's why I asked somebody who is doing exactly this since 17 years on a global level with the biggest brands. Thank you for being here and welcome everybody, Marian Temelkov.
Thank you, Simon, for having me today. You're touching a string here as something that I'm really passionate about. I love really seeing people thrive and prosper at their work. It's just something that is so profound in that, because when you thrive at work, everyone feels it, your family, your friends, your company. And that's why we at Dynamics on a mission to see more people thriving, not surviving.
Oh, yes. And when we don't find the right people and keep the right people, I can speak of myself. I'm so grumpy, right? I am not fun to be around. You see it in my face. My wife goes, "Oh, I see it in your face. Oh, la la, business is not going well, huh?" And I go, "How do you see it?" I feel it, Simon, from 10 meters away. So help us, Marian. Tell us, how can we attract talent? How can we keep talent? What can we do?
Well, great question. Well, first of all, it starts with you, to be honest. That is really after interviewing and speaking to CEOs of multi-billion organizations, managing partners, operating partners of private equity, to small business owners, really of startups or high growth startups that are going from 4 people to 100 million in 12 months or a unicorn in 18 months. We see that talent and having an exceptionally gifted leaders and people in your team is just so important if you want to really scale. But also the ones who the gifted part is very important, but also the character is equally important, because you may have gifted people, but they may not be aligned with your values. So it's really important that they care and have your back. But it's before you get to that point, and success attracts such type of people, but retaining them is a different ball game, because then when they see inside, you're successful, but that's not enough to retain that. And what we are passionate about is to see those business owners, to see those leaders and CEOs grow. Growth and transformation of the leader is the key ingredient to attract and retain such exceptionally gifted talent. So I look at business leaders and ask a very important question. Go deep and say, hey, what gives you fulfillment? What do you do? What you do first? It's so important to answer this question, because if you've not discovered who you are, why you're here, you got to go through that journey. You just need to really understand what are your strengths, what are your weaknesses, what are your insecurities. You got to really understand that, because when you build a business, you may find people that are much smarter than you. That's the exceptionally gifted talent. They will, and they're very sensitive to the way you treat people. So if you basically arrogant, if you have an issue with ego or not letting go, that's a no-go. That's definitely will not retain such talent. They just it means that there's certain insecurities. So you got to deal with that and be open and honest and just with yourself. Otherwise, it's just you will limit yourself and that growth. So there's 5 categories that are important for us to, as leaders, to, and everyone really, but for us especially, to conquer or master in life. And the first one is, I start with your spirituality. Find out what are the spiritual law and take care of that area. That's number one, because a lot of people ignore that, and there's a lot of key foundations of how to live an effective life in that spiritual, especially we're talking scripture. For me, the greatest care of the world is Jesus. So for me, scripture in the Bible gives me a lot of that guidance in life. Number two is your mental growth and transformation. So how to be on point, how to master your emotions, your really memory, really understanding of how to be sharp, what recharges you, what paying attention to the things that give you this continuous um, energy levels, and really understand what is the mental health and well-being is so important. Number three is your physical health. If you're ill and sick, you're gonna not gonna fulfill your mission, right? So you got to take care of that. That's food and training. And number four, it's money, earning money, financial really prosperity is essential here. And number five is your relationships. So starting with those five are the things that really the leaders need to consider and look at before they start to say, hey, I could attract this, but let's look at us first. And this is so important because when you start looking at yourself and be open about it, something magical happens.
Is there a particular order of things when you work with people? Do you start with one? How do you work with people?
Well, some people already know those areas, and I can, if I see a routine of someone, or because what makes you successful is not just a one-off. It's not the intensity. A lot of leaders may come across very intense. They do it one day, but if you go to the gym for 9 hours in one day, you're not going to get fit. You got to go to the gym every day for 20, 30 minutes. That consistency beats intensity. So, yes, there is an order, and the order is your routine. For me, I'll tell you mine because that has worked for me, and I've just seen profound difference. If there's one thing that could really make a difference, because the day is crazy, we're busy, wake up earlier. That is essential because when you wake up earlier, you have more time to take care of your spiritual, mental, and physical. So you cover those three. Then you're ready after 9 o'clock to serve and make a difference, be a blessing to humanity, be a blessing to your company because you've taken care of yourself. If you don't do that, it's like putting your mask first, right? You're not going to be as resourceful. Your drop of energy you have, if you don't eat good food and nutrition, and it's not easy to master all of those. Honestly, it's just that's why getting early gives you that extra 2 or 3 hours you need. I wake up 5 in the morning in order to be able to have that 3 hours to be able to. Some people meditate. For me, it's prayer, then training and listening at the same time, upgrading yourself every day for an hour or an hour and a half. Have a wonderful breakfast, and then you're ready to serve and make a difference to the world. And of course, then while you're doing that, you're taking care of relationships. You can be more resourceful. You can show because there's nothing worse than a grumpy leader going around and just spreading negativity in the company. And the opposite, when the leader is happy, celebrates, that's the greatest blessing you can give your team and the greatest blessing you can give your family. So I'm very keen to help those leaders. I want to take care of those leaders because if they're taken care of, that's the secret ingredient, care. To be able to spread that and their team will feel it so we can create that culture that is unstoppable.
It's funny how all high performers have very, very similar morning routines. Um, and even I have a very similar. I also wake up 5 o'clock in the morning, and it took me 42 years to find my flow, but we all come to very similar things. So I wake up 5, then I do some yoga, which is stretching and then breathing meditation. And I'm incorporating now prayer for the first time. I'm doing Padre Nostro and Ave Maria, which is basically my way of connecting to the divine masculine. Padre Nostro. What's the English thing? Is the Lord's Prayer, right? Divine masculine, the Lord's Prayer, and the divine feminine, Hail Mary, Ave Maria, in my language, which is very similar to what yoga is all about. I just do it in my culture, right? Because I'm Italian. And then I go running and I listen to podcasts and I listen to audiobooks while I run in nature. And then I connect to the elements, right? To the sun, to the water, nature, air, etc.
The creation, God's creation, because that's celebration. That's the scenery, the noise of the river. Maybe you don't see it, but you don't hear it, but you see it. You know that change of scenery, just what's natural. You know, and that's key to recharge. And it's incredible how much recharge you get out of this because you're nourishing your body in nature, clean air. Well, the basics are clean air, clean water, clean food and
Mhm.
clean thoughts. So if you gotta start with those basics. What kind of water do you drink every day? What kind of air do you drink? If you drink kind of polluted water, clearly, or kind of more, it's over 10 years it builds up. It's really these are basics that often you ignore. For example, we have the cleanest water here in Cheshire. We have delivered from a local guy who discovered that he had a really that kind of divine water, and he bottles it, and is the bottles not even recycled; they're refillable, so glass bottles. So it's good
Mhm.
for the environment. It's only 20 minutes away from here, and so it matters. I make a priority out of this. What kind of food you eat? Food can be a healing, recharge, nourishment, but also can be a poison. So it's just those little things every day repeated because big problems, how do they happen? Very rarely sudden issues happen. They as a result of many years of abusing your body or ignoring. So if you want to be healthy and be more resourceful, you gotta take care of that.
That's beautiful. And then I play with my kids. I have 3 kids now, so I play with my kids, make breakfast, make them ready, and that's exactly the 3 hours that you just shared. That's exactly 3 hours, and then it's 8 o'clock, and then I have to work. So, and all high performers have some form of me time first, and it's a habit, and it's similar time, very similar time, whatever happens in the morning. Um, so we covered spirituality. What if they say, but it's tough for me? How do I find out what's good for me in the morning? How do you help them find what's good for them in the morning?
Well, it takes time to wake up earlier. To be honest, some people say I'm an evening person. I'm not a morning person, and so forth. So yeah, they gotta try different things, but trying just once doesn't necessarily work. You gotta stick to it for a period of time to see whether, because I wouldn't advise them necessarily to go with one goal unless they're really ready, mentally prepared, because I sometimes feel sleepy during the day. To be honest, I just you know I but I could I can see improvement because over time, my body got used to it. I became stronger because I trained almost every day. Then I eat good food, and I'd start to notice what type of food energizes me throughout the day. So that way, I don't have the drops of energy, ups and downs. And if you look at biohacking and all this, that's a whole category. All those 5 categories I mentioned, so important, and then you gotta learn continuously every day to improve. If you don't want to get sick, the two major causes of diseases, for example, are the sugar levels and the spike of your sugar levels. So it's super critical. So this sharp rises and sharp falls, which happens with every meal, but in the type of food you eat. And the other thing is, so when you have the oils create the inflammation. So what kind of oil you eat, you may not realize, but most people eat, the traditional sunflower oil, some other cooking oils, palm oil. They're not very good. They're not good for you at all. I mean, it's just if you look at olive oil is the one you don't want to go. Coconut oil, avocado oil. So if you take away that, when you cook a meal, you replace those with something very simple, with combine that with, before you have a meal, have a walk or have a 30 to 60 seconds intense exercise. So let's say you do some jump squats or quick or sprint or some push-ups before your meal. Interestingly, what happens is your body starts to kind of get hyped up, and the sugar levels doesn't spike that much. They go more kind of, so you You could see, I know the food is processed much easier. So these are two simple things that I've learned from that growth and transformation every morning that I listen. So these are small things, but incorporated every day makes a big difference to your. You get stronger because you exercise a little bit more. I always take the stairs instead of using the lift elevator. I mean, obviously, if it's a skyscraper, it will be a challenge. But if it's 3, 4, 5 floors, and you do that 3 times a day, that's 10, 20 floors you've done. And just inconveniencing yourself. That's what I'd say. I do cold showers. So little bit of inconvenience every day gives you long convenience for the rest of your life. Somewhere I heard that phrase and really connected with me. I mean, and it's
I love that.
so
I
like
didn't know. Yeah, I didn't know about that. That if you do this exercise, a little bit of exercise before, that it can help with the sugar intake. I'm I heard from Tim Ferriss that he measured his sugar spikes, and he found out that even if he eats super clean, just vegetables, but the size is too much, that then sugar spikes even if you eat super clean, but it's just the volume.
exactly.
Wow.
But doing this exercise, maybe with a bit of ginger shot and some or apple cider vinegar, and then after your meal, you have 15 minutes of mild walk, pleasant walk in the nature. Oh my God, this is gonna be so good for your body because it makes you sleepier. Because as you move your body after that intense, it's just imagine you do that for 10 years. I mean, have you noticed sometimes you may have a shoulder ache or knee pain? That knee pain may have arisen because of your body imbalance for 10 years walking in an imbalanced way. And then you wonder, why is it not going away? Well, how is it going to go away? You had 10 years to build up to that position. So you
Mhm.
need to make sure that you consistently do things for a few months at least, or weeks before things start to get sorted. So the balance of your body and these are small things, but I think everybody could incorporate. But there's so many. Imagine so many small things done consistently over a longer period of time gives you that um, longer longevity, better lifestyle, and more quality of life.
I love this. And we just covered just one of those pillars that you
Mm.
have. So I want to hear so much more after one word from our sponsors. What if your business would run well even when you are on vacation? Discover how 1,600 business owners have regained their freedom using the Strategy Sprints blueprints. How they enjoy living their dream and watching their business scale. Get the exact checklists they use to go from stressed to fulfilled using the Strategy Sprints method. Order your copy of Strategy Sprints 12 Ways to Accelerate Growth for an Agile Business on Amazon today. And if you love it, leave us a review. For more information, head over to strategysprints.com. That was just one pillar, the spirituality and the morning routine and eating in the compounding effect of those habits. But you have many, many more. Would you like to share more with us?
I'll focus on the fifth category, which is the relationship category, because that's very much linked to the attraction and retention of exceptionally gifted talent. Why is it so important? And the fourth and fifth categories is money or financial abundance and relationship. Remember, whatever money can pay or buy, relationships can pay for it. So relationships are exceptionally, they're super important. And I measure success in different ways. So it's not just KPIs and money, and because there's a lot of people that have very, very wealthy. I mean, probably the ultimate failure in life is if you're exceptionally wealthy financially. And I measure wealth in two ways. One of them is the actual um, amount of money available to you. That means build up in your resource and capacity, but linked to how much free time do you have. So if you have a lot of money with not a lot of free time, it's not you're not very wealthy. It's it's like the wealth should be used to free up your time. So really, wealth with free time is a kind of a good formula. And then wealth and abundance is also measured in your ability. So in case you lose all of your financial resources at present, of whatever situation, crisis, or they're taken away, you have the ability to replenish that, so that your skills, your ability to repeat, so it's not a balloon success, because some people may have wealth and they were lucky, but the real wealth is also being able to replenish and rebuild that. And that happens with knowing systems, understanding how to how investments work, how things work, how business work, and so forth. And probably one of the quickest way to do is by attracting and retaining exceptionally gifted talent. That's how you can get a lot of financial abundance. But it's not as simple as that, because it's just when you're just here for the money, people feel it, they understand it, and that's not always exciting. And when you talk about relationships, there's four types of relationships that I mean, there's many different, but in my what resonated most in my experience, for me personally, is that if you I measure myself on that category, and this is the four types of relationships that we all need in our lives. Is number one, I call them divine connectors. These are people that may not have a solution to the problem you have as a leader, but they can connect you to the to the person or individual, that exception gifted talent that can have that solution for you, or investor or so forth. So divine connectors, number one. Number two is people of influence. Who are the people of influence in your life? Financial, political, um, social, governmental. So if you look at all of this, that one signature of theirs could skyrocket you or propel you. So think about who are those people of influence in your life that we all need. Number three is the category I'm really passionate about: exceptionally gifted talent. These are the people that make your life enjoyable. You don't have to repeat 100 times one thing. You ask them one thing, they do 10. Like you just think, wow, And also, if these people care, because sometimes people can be gifted, but they may be selfish, their character may be problematic. So you need to understand. Or same with the leaders, they have sometimes their character is the biggest issue that we face, and the character is the only thing that spiritually stays with us, in our life, from my belief and understanding. So until we live like the Greeks, the character comes from the old Greek word, it's like chisos, like you kind of shape it in that form until you live. So you should not give up, regardless how old are you. For me, that's nonsense that you're too old to change. No, you can change it any time of your life if you wanted to. And the last one category is the one that is probably the rarest of all, and very few people even have. And this is, if you have one of those persons, you're really you have something. And this is I call them the burden bearers, and not me alone, but many other great leaders that have shared that. The burden bearers is the people that will be with you no matter what. Even if you get arrested tomorrow, they will come and endorse you, say, I will help you until your glory is fully revealed. Hopefully that's your wife. That's obviously a person that you trust. If you have 10 of those people in your life, you're the luckiest person of your generation. So, that's how I measure something, leadership as well, is what does people say about you when you're not around? How much do you really care about them? Do you ask the question, how are you, but you don't want to hear it? So it's the character is the most important to get. So the question is, how do you get those people in your life? What do you think we can do to attract those people? Because they're waiting, they're there. But how could they show up in our life? What do you think?
By really caring about what people need right now, listening, really seeing them, and being of service.
Absolutely. You just nailed it. The way you do that, I call those destiny helpers. We need all those four types of destiny helpers in our life. How do you attract them? By becoming a destiny helper for yourself in each one of those four categories. For who am I a divine connector? For who am I a person of influence? For who am I exceptionally gifted person and leader? For who am I a burden bearer? You start being one of those in all those four categories, all of those destiny helpers will show up in your life. So the answer of how to attract and retain exceptionally gifted talent is not just one or two things, it's many little things, but it starts with the character of the leader. If the leader start working on each one of those categories, in their life, and I'm very passionate to help those leaders and business owners. Why I care about them, business owners and CEOs, because the question is, who care about the CEOs? Who cares about the business owners? Well, I do, but hopefully everyone else. So I want to show them that there is a much more pleasant and wonderful way to be a living wonder if you understand the key starts with the principles of spiritual principles in scripture, which is a lot of people get like by the age of 20, 25, they show up, I want to conquer the world, but they don't understand those principles, and they go on, they fail miserably and start then rethink and redo all this journey. But imagine if you're by the age of 20, you already know that. That's why a lot of have you noticed that you might sometimes hear, well, whatever this person does, it's like it turns into gold. There's something they know why this happens. When you walk into a room, there's like this, wow, this person is favored immediately. Well, there's something that they know. They have that blessing. And this is what really is in scripture. For me, if anyone, because it's not easy to understand scripture, for me, it's the Bible. If you ever, obviously, if whoever wants to read it, there's three things that I look in that book, which is the book of books for me personally. Number one is God's promises. Find out what God's promise. Whatever God's promise will come to pass. In other words, it will not. Imagine if it doesn't come to pass. What kind of a God is it? It will always come to pass. So if you know God's promises, you already, and you can link your prayer to the God's promise, that will be answered for sure. But if you don't link your prayer to the God's promise, it will be called a prayer amiss. A lot you can pray a lot, but it will not be answered. So that's very important. Number two, find out the principles of how to live an effective life, because that's really like there was this famous billionaire in China said, Jack Ma, life is like a box of chocolate with you never know what you're going to pick. I think it's from Gun Forest. I think he kind of related to that, but I disagree. I think life is like a box of chocolate with a menu if you know the principles of how to live an effective life, and they're found in that book of books that outlive kingdoms and empires. And number three is the prophecies. What are those stories and all these kings? And so what they did right and wrong to take away the fear of the future. If you understand those and put God first in everything you do, if I give you one advice, start with that, you'll not go wrong. That's already a massive step forward. That has worked for me, and I'm not imposing it to anyone, of course. And I just because I'm very curious, I always ask a question: why people don't follow Genghis Khan, the greatest conqueror of the world, or Alexander the Great, for example? Why do people follow Jesus? Well, there's a reason, because Jesus didn't came to conquer and criticize; he came to serve, heal, inspire, resurrect. And at the end, they crucified him and said, forgive them. What kind of a strength? What kind of a character is that? That is probably unbearable for most people. But I was inspired. He's the greatest carer of the world. And this is, until I live, if what you see is not me. Without his blessings, I'm nothing.
So the
I'm just
homework is we are a small business owner. We can start attracting by thinking about, okay, who am I a connector for? Who do I connect? Who do I for whom am I a person of influence? I can open doors. I can
yes.
and who do I
Well,
serve in a way that I am an exceptional talent for them? So I over deliver
yeah.
and I bring ideas proactively. I find new solutions, and then who am I 100% loyal to? Whatever happens, I have their back.
Burden bearer, exactly. It's like, who am I a burden bearer for? You've nailed it. You just do that, you will rise. And also, there's another thing. You need to understand the basics of the six human cravings, because most people don't understand the human psychology, and that takes really a lot of interest and passion to do that. But each one of us as human beings, the six cravings that we all need in order. And if you understand that as a business owner, you can understand the behavior and how people operate. So that will help you a lot. Number one is from the ancestors we have in the tribal times is every human being needs a sense of security. That's the first basic human craving. If you don't have security, you don't feel. So you're going to make sure. So imagine from tribal times, if you go to sleep in the middle of the jungle, and there's full of obviously wild animals that could eat you for food, would you feel secure? Probably not. You need somebody to be on guard for you to fall asleep, and that's what used to be. So you need to offense off your. So that security is very important. While we want to have security, humans also very interesting. They also want variety. They don't just want to have routine. They want to have variety. So we're saying, so variety and dynamism is number two. The other thing is we also want to feel important and valued, right? So like, hey, it's an honor. I want to welcome you. Blah, blah. This is an award for you. So that sense of recognition, just say, don't lie, don't over pretend. Just say the truth and recognize people for good things they do and the behaviors you want to see. Number four, love and acceptance. Why people go and join all sorts of groups and stuff? Because they accept it. They do a stamp. They could go like you put a stamp. You're part of the group because they accept it. That's why they even go to extremists sometimes because they accept it. Love and acceptance is very powerful. So you've got those four, and the fifth one is that growth and transformation. When you grow, when you learn new things, that's like you feel alive, you feel healthy, you feel good. So this is, and number six is giving. Whatever growth and feel can growing makes you feel alive. Giving makes you feel 10 times more alive. So when you start giving, being a blessing to humanity, so you got these six human cravings in mind when you build a company with take care with those four or five categories of you personally, and really sincerely take care of it. That's a lot of work. It could take years. You'll rise, I can tell you, and you will. You will. You. It's hard, but it will be one of the greatest journeys that you could ever embark on.
Now, some people listening go, "Oh my God, I just wanted to attract talent. Now I have to become a divine living wonder." These guys are creating work for me. But no, people, it's simpler. Like it's like you are to your kids, to your wife. You do it anyways, right? So to your friends, yeah, we are loyal to our friends anyways, right? Maybe it's the amount. Like, what if it creates pressure now on listeners? Maybe it's the amount, right? Can we burn out it if we serve everybody and give, give, give? Is
Yes.
there a limit? Should we limit it to 5 people, to 10 people, to 15 people, this exercise?
Great question. Look, indeed, it's a process. So I'll give you one example. When you go to the gym and try to lift 200 kilos and don't have the muscles, you will injure yourself. So what I'm saying here is you can live that if you have a few people around you. So the way you do things is start gradually build this up, and get stronger and stronger, because you could easily go very very quick, very extreme, and that doesn't. You need to enjoy the process, because if you don't enjoy it, find the things that helps you in those five categories that you enjoy. So it needs to link to your joy. For example, I like to do a variety of different trainings, training outside, mix that like the second human craving, dynamism and variety. Mix those things up, but still take care of that on a daily basis. And it's not easy, I can tell you, of course, but and the other thing is, don't give or don't ask a person if you're not prepared to do so. Does that make sense? If you don't have capacity, if you're emotionally drained, and if you're not really ready to give all this, don't offer it. It's okay. You of course, greatest and so forth, you're not ready for that level. When you're ready to give, when you even don't have anything to give, it's a different level. That's what the SEALs, in the US train, that you help your person when you're almost dying. But there's a journey to get to that level. It does not make sense. If you don't start from, you've never practiced suddenly overnight. You just so what I'm saying, it just needs to feel right, because sometimes you can give something that you're not prepared to give, and the other person doesn't need. So pay attention to those people. What do they really need? What is their biggest pain point? Start to get really interested in people, and
This
don't see them for who they are, but for who they could become. Just inspire them. So I have two simple things to give it. Whenever you meet a person, regardless what is it, employee or whoever, ask this question: how did I make them feel, and what value did I add? Answer those two questions in every interaction in your life. That's a good start. You'll help you rise.
This is something we've been discussing in our mastermind community a lot recently is how do we know that we are giving from abundance? Because if you see children, for example, my little children, when they give, it's natural for them to give because they give from a surplus. So they have so much more. And when you have so much more, the natural thing is sharing it. Because when you're so overflowing with joy, the
Yeah.
natural thing is to tell somebody, show somebody, share with others that joy. So that's the natural flow. And in that moment, you're giving from abundance. Some of us, grown-ups, we run businesses, we run families, etc. We are sometimes drained, but we want to serve and to give, and sometimes we don't feel that actually there is nothing more to give. Now we should say, hey, stop, and now it's me time. How to calibrate that?
Well, well, you just gotta try and it's a nice way to do that on a daily basis. Just to do like a little at the end of the day, do a little like a 5 minute reflection and see what emotions have you experienced during the day. What made you happy? What made you sad? What made you annoyed? All these things. Just reflect and say what situation led to that, because emotions can be designed. You could design a day that you have a consistent, if you want to experience certain things. So it's not. It's like you're preparing a bread or doing messing a dough. Like that. That's how you could also design things, and it's a good way of starting that is just reflecting, because some people are very patient. They won't get annoyed, but also you need to accept people for who they are. If you factor one thing that people's gonna annoy you during the day, but then you gotta accept that, and that's normal. Because if you get annoyed for every little thing, you spend all of your life every day you have people annoy you. Then when you gonna love people? That's the other thing. So it's very important to make that decision for yourself and acceptance. Go deeper in yourself. Say, hey, that's normal. Some people will be more aggressive on the road, but you don't know what they're going through. Maybe they're rushing for the hospital. Maybe they're just you don't just to accept things. That and reflect to daily basis, because it's not one formula that works for everyone.
And I get now how you say if we work on this ourselves, who can I serve, connect, introduce, be loyal to, be there for them. If I do this on a consistent basis, it changes how I relate, and it changes the energy in the room, and then more people want to be part of that. I get
Yes,
it. And then less people will leave, right? Because it's an energy of nourishment and of growing together.
exactly.
So it's a very healthy space to be in. This is wonderful, Marian. If people go, oh my God, yes, I need him as a coach, where can they find you?
On LinkedIn. I'm not a coach. I'm happy to do and help people, but I do a lot of really probably indirect coaching with CEOs and many other leaders, because I'm very interested to go deeper, really to make sure that we check those foundations. Because if we don't have even my family name Temelkov, that it's my really family name. It comes from what Temel means is deep foundation. It's really that kind of family, but where for skyscrapers, when you go really deep to have a foundation to build something of value or great structure, you need deep foundation. So it's probably also in me, in my own family, and I really go deeper to find out what's the really foundations and anchors we have in order to build that exceptional life. I do really care about people. I want to see more people, and especially leaders and CEOs, thriving, because I know the impact they have. If we have a happy leader, they impact 20, 30 families, or 20, 30,000 families. So it's just the impact is significant. So I really care, and I wish that more leaders really more happy, more thriving at work, so they can create that conditions environment for everyone else. That would be a really wish come true.
Who should contact you and how can people work with you?
Well, look, professionally at Dynamis, we typically work with either companies that are high growth scale ups or large corporates that need that help and to attract and retain exceptionally gifted talents that have a vision beyond just the lifestyle business. If they want to really make a difference and grow and become one of the best in the field, that's probably a good start, and that's what we get inspired by. I mean, we want to help and do everyone else, but it's not always easy to have that capacity and ability. But we share a lot of useful materials as well, and yeah, anyone who has a question maybe can send me a message, and whenever I have a moment and chance, I respond. Or if they want to engage more, um, um, if want to engage more directly with what we do, which we're passionate about as a global talent consultancy, they can also reach out, and we could be happily discuss how to help them.
Improve your talent acquisition, people, with Marian Temelkov. You find him on LinkedIn. Thank you, Marian, for sharing with us your wisdom, your journey, your tactics, your habits, and please come back soon.
Thank you so much, Simon. The blessing goes to you and your audience, and thank you for having me today.
Hey, if you love what you are hearing, you will love our free masterclasses. Go grab them at strategysprints.com.
What if your business would run well even when you are on vacation? Discover how 1,600 business owners have regained their freedom using the Strategy Sprints blueprints. How they enjoy living their dream and watching their business scale. Get the exact checklists they use to go from stressed to fulfilled using the Strategy Sprints method. Order your copy of Strategy Sprints 12 Ways to Accelerate Growth for an Agile Business on Amazon today. And if you love it, leave us a review.